support people so that they may be able to acquire certain skills to be able to deliver best result of who they are. Now, since you are following us on the screen, I'd like to share the screen. Yeah, Dale, I think you've disabled my screen sharing. Could you enable me? I see the host attendee disabled the attendee screen sharing.
Yes, 1 minute, please.
Yeah.
Members, please, 1 minute, we shall be on. We are just connected concerning the sharing of the screen so that we may all have common understanding of what we are.
Daddy.
Ready?
Continue, sir. Yeah, ready.
Mimi niliminimize, kwa hiyo nirudishe.
Now, who is that?
Sasa nione.
Now?
Nimemute, unfortunately nilikuwa naongea bado kwa people online.
Can everybody see the screen on the Institute of Management Consultants on your screen? Do you see it? Pusa? Dale?
Not yet.
Not yet. So you see me?
Yes, I can see you.
Okay, so what is not making my way to see that at least you can see it? I share screen. Okay. Now can you see?
Yes.
Okay, so I want us to move with that screen, then we'll go to another topic. Now, with us this afternoon, we've got Flatel Isaac, mastermind for critical thinking. So at least we'll be trying to co-share. We are Institute of Management Consultant. Who are the consultant? Consultant are the people who think critically. They don't take things as it is. That's why our first topic on our discussion will be on critical thinking. And typically we're talking about negative thinking. That is, don't take anything, any subject without questioning why. And that's essence of life. People who take everything at raw is usually a problem. But if you are able to take things with why, it becomes easier. Now, please, for purpose of understanding, there is a book I'm typing there on the screen. Please take time to read it. Who moved my cheese? I'll share with you after this session. Please, that book is very essential for you to conceptualize the issue of critical thinking. I think you've seen it. Pusa, anybody seen it? I think you've seen it, eh? Have you seen that book, Who Moved My Cheese? It's called Who Moved My Cheese. It's a very important book. Please, if you get time, read about it. It talks about the way to think logically and also to think critically. Now, to continue from there, I'd like us now to go to the second slide of my introduction. And that is about the so-called Institute of Management Consultants. We want to develop people who are experts, people who are trainers, and the people who are consultants. Why consulting? Life is about consulting. There is no way you can live in this life without being consultant. Because if you are employed by a company, typically they want to use your skill to support delivery of value. If you are employing people, actually you're taking consultants. The people who will use their knowledge and skill to support to deliver value is expected. So consulting is part of life. But now we'll use one area of consulting that is called management consulting. Now, why management consulting? Because we are talking about considering organization. So we're not management, when we become management consultant, we become an organization doctor. So your doctor to diagnose organizational problems, support up getting the solution, and then standing by solution until the end. That's management consulting. So we are using the skills in consulting to address management problems. We might be using the skills in religion to address management problems. So what we're going to teach to is some skills, potential skills, that will help you to sort out any problem in life. What does it mean? You're going to be happy in life. You're going to be able to address challenges which are coming to your life. And before you know it, the way you think, the way you do things will never be the same again. You'll be typically different. So to carry us further, I would like to make a simple introduction that we started in 2017. Our aim is to promote common interests of the practice of management consulting. But we are doing seminars like what we do this afternoon. We are doing consulting. We are doing training and coaching. But also we do conduct the professional examination in every November. And most of you, you've already registered for the exams. So through this course, there will be some questions that will come for that purpose. But the aim is not to promote claiming or claim, no. But the aim is to promote people to be critical thinkers. So our levels of examination are 3. As I put up an introduction, there is a graduate management consultant, the person who has achieved the theoretical framework, and then you become certified management consultant after doing the practical part, which will give you a company to work on that. Now, for purpose of study, we're going to give you a manual for those registered candidates for purpose of following up. So whatever we're coming to present here, you'll be available. Now, internationally, we are regulated by something called International Council of Management Consultant Institute, ICMICI. That is setting the global standard of consultants. And whatever we are training is in compliance with the Board of Knowledge of the Institute of Management Consultant International. Now, our examinations, it covers to get from you the knowledge and skill that we are teaching in this session like this one, to understand the techniques of doing consulting, whatever you're giving an assignment, but also to be able to supervise different program and project that might come across for your purpose. We have got also a code of ethics that will be sent to you after this session. And also, if you go to our website, it tells you about how we structure our examination. And entry qualification is any person with some basic diploma or degree who has either inborn talent or has something he has learned that you want to put or want to contribute to the society. Now, there is a point of learning, there is a point of methodology to deliver the value. It's different. So what here we're building the gap between the lesson you know, or the subjects you know, or things you know, and how do you meet your client? What kind of skill, what kind of techniques and methods that you're gonna use? So as I said, our examination is divided into 3 parts. There is assessment 1, assessment 2, and final examination. Pass mark is 70. So for those who are starting today, the assessment examination for level 1 will be in August. And the second assessment examination will be in October, early October. And the final examination will be held on 5th of November, 2022. So if you're not yet registered, please get time to contact us so that we may also be part of registered candidate. What do we cover? We have got 7 modules. Now, divided into 3 stages. Stage 1 is a foundation stage, of which on module 1, we are covering the meaning, scope, and purpose of management consulting. And then module 2, we are covering the relationship or client relationship. And in module 3, we are covering the change management. Today, as part of module 1, definition of consulting and understanding of management consulting, we'll be also discussing about critical thinking as a foundation for you to understand this course much better. Then we have got module 4, that is culture management and the code of ethics. Module 5 is about consulting process. Now, this is the gist of the matter. And the module 6 is about consulting in specialized areas. If you are HR, you are a financial person, you are an IT person, or quality management, or legal consulting, what skills do you need to have? Or risk management. But also, it might be your consulting concerning the areas which are on your talent basis. So here as well, we learn about a lot of skills on specific consulting business or approach. The last module is called Managing Consulting Firm. We learn how do you start a consulting business and how do you manage it. Together with this, we have got an elective module that is called leadership. So we're also training people on leadership skills, to understand the leadership approaches, to understand the leadership requirement. That will be like an addenda or an add-on. Now, at the end of this course, you'll be able to acquire the management consulting skills. You'll be able to acquire the public speaking skills, professional, business writing skills, leadership skills, and critical thinking skills. Those are the top skills that we're going to be building with regard to this. Now, our first part of the subject is what we call the so-called critical thinking. And I would like to welcome Isaac to start the subject. And then I think he's not there. Isaac? Isaac? All right. I believe everybody's in, with the exception of Isaac. Nitika, are you around? Nitika, are you around?
Yes, I'm around.
Okay. Lozi, are you around?
I'm around.
Okay. And the Pius, are you around? Okay. But Isaac is not with us. I'm checking with him whether he can be around very soon so that we may join us. Because for him, one of the things they learn in philosophy and psychology is about critical thinking. So soon he will be joining us, and together we shall try to see how do we address this subject. Now, to start with, what do we start with critical thinking? Is an understanding that not everything you are told is true. I repeat, an understanding that not everything you're told is true. I can quote from Albert Einstein, who said, the important thing to stop, the important thing in life, or important thing in whatever we do, is not to stop questioning, but it's important to be curious, because curiosity has its own reason for existence. When you are curious, anything comes to your life, you'll be questioning. You're not questioning loudly because you may be taken for a loser, but if you're questioning in your heart, the thing which is about in critical thinking is Don't take anything by the way it comes. Don't believe on anything the way it comes. So you can see on the chart on your screen there, there is one person called a critical thinker. I think you may think on the very, yeah, I'm putting my marker to show what is it. And then a critical thinker will always question. You can see there is someone there who is trying to question. And they never assume anything. They can't assume. They always question, but also they break down the question. For example, let's start with this question. Someone can say, men should marry more women because we've got few women in the world than men. I repeat, men should get married to more wives. Why? Because we've got few men than women in the world. If men don't marry, it means the women who are in the world will not get a husband, will not get someone to help them. So a person who is not a critical thinker will take for granted that, sure, I can see even my sisters are so many than my brothers, so therefore it's okay. But a person who is a critical thinker will try to question and try to ask, why men, women, why is this man saying so? Why? Maybe he's coming from which religion? Maybe the foundation of thinking is coming from which side? Maybe himself has married more wives. Why is he saying so? Number two, a critical thinker will try to find a clarification. He'll go to the Google and think, why avoid? Is it true that there's many men than women in the world? He'll go further and come to some assumptions that why God created Adam and Eve alone. Why didn't he create a lot of Eve and one Adam? Was he not aware that we need more people, we need so and so? So he'll always question. He'll put up reason to get the meaning. He'll question to the misunderstanding. He'll find the causes. He'll find the root causes. He'll look at another different point of view. He'll also look on the evidence of what is being said, but also consider the consequences of the statement which someone is putting. Now, when you talk about critical thinking, you're talking about making up of different perspectives, different analog or thinking about particular matter or particular subject. What we are saying, if you're a good critical thinker, you may think before you get married. You may think before joining a course at the college. You may think before getting a child to the marriage. You may think before getting a job. You may think before doing so. It gives you time to go back to your mind, reflect it thorough, whatever assumption you have, and then move on. That's the meaning of the so-called critical thinking. So the question which I want to pose to you, which is very important to understand, is what is critical thinking? So in personal life, you may have kind of critical thinking. For example, before eating food, you need to ask yourself, do I want a good diet? Should I eat this food? What investment can I make with this money? How can I make my family to be better? How can I move from my father's perspective about life to my own perspective about life? And why? 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 Why should I do so? Now, you know, let me tell you, one of the most difficult things in this world is to think. That's why to most of people, when you ask a question, hey, do you know so and so? Or can you explain about it? Say, I feel. Now, there's a difference between feeling and thinking. And when we don't address the thinking part, which is the most difficult in life. One of the most difficult things in life to do is to think. That's why people never allow thinking. But it pays off very well. When you decide to think, it provides you another room to go upper class and make a difference. Now, Isaac, I think, has joined us. We will try to express to us about the theoretical framework of critical thinking, but please allow me to give you this introductory part. Then we'll hear from Isaac on the other remaining part, so that together we'll be on the same chapter, and also remove monotony so that we may all be talking the same language. But also in professional life. So I talk about personal life, whereby critical thinking is very critical and it's very important, but also in the so-called professional life. When you start anything in professional life, you need to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why? So you come to the reasoning, you come to the evidence, you come to the assumption, and you come to some conclusive deductions. Sometimes critical thinking is a deductive thinking. But now the difference between the two is critical thinking does not deduce, it is incremental. Another thing in professional life is, what can I do which will make me fail in life? What can I do which will make me succeed? In whatsoever decision you're gonna be making, you need to know the consequence and the expectation. Those people are still in academic life. You need to understand some issues in the text. For example, for we who are studying today, you need to reason why IMCT. What is it? How does it help me? Why should you continue in the courses? How can I make a difference? Now, questioning and answering, never stop questioning. As I said, the brain of human being is made to sleep, to be lazy, but critical thinkers will always question. And I just cautioned you, don't question to the people, question in your mind, in your heart. Question yourself, in your brain, before you come to speak, because as you speak, you are putting up another assumption which people will question also. On spiritual life also, we have heard a lot of people preaching the message from either whatever religion could be. You need to question, is it coming from which book? Why that book? When did he speak about this? What was the environment? What situation bring this person to speak about this? Is all we refer as the so-called critical thinking. Now, please remember, critical thinking is a subject you need to cultivate. You need to start from today as we finish this lecture. Whatever comes to you, you question. You go to the negative side of whatever it's just addressed in your front. Now, how do you activate? Number one is become an active learner. Chase answers to questions. Don't just ask why and end there. But it's important also to get answers. Dig through, drill something. Don't allow only one answer to just conclude on it. Go further. Number two, be open-minded. That is, allow ideas from different corners to come to your life, but also look on different problems and solutions for different causes. Number three, critical thinkers are never emotional. Critical thinkers are never emotional. So thinking and feeling are different things. You may have feeling, but not your thinking. So what we cultivate here is not feeling, but we are cultivating the so-called thinking. So if someone tells you 2 + 2 = 5, for a person who is not a critical thinker, will say, no, it's not possible. How can 2 + 2 not equal? How 2 + 2 = 5? For him, he has got only one way of thinking. We shall give some examples later. But a critical thinker will question first, why is he saying 2 plus 2 equals to 5? Why is he saying so? What is he talking about? What is 2? 2 of what? What thing is he building up? So 2 plus 2 equals to 5 is not the incorrect answer. This is called logical fallacy. It might be a correct answer. You need to think what the first 2, what the second 2, and what does it say that equals to 5? That is what we call critical thinking. Now, as I said, you need to keep your mind open. You need to be open-minded. Let me tell you an example. I may be in a meeting and I say, going to town, you must take a bus. There is no other means. And everybody could say that is true. Now, for the closed mind, will take my statement to be a correct statement. You'll never think anything else. But going to town, you need to take a bus. But a person with a critical mind can say, no need of taking a bus. You may take a plane. You may walk. You may take a motorcycle. You may decide to do virtual visit. Now, all that becomes an open-minded. But also, I, who is proposing that going to town, you need to use a bus, I must be able, as a critical thinker, to change your mindset. Let me give an example. When I was writing my first book with regard to financial management, I thought that it's not good to take a loan. That was my statement, that don't take a loan. So I tried to use my logic, my analytical understanding, my financial background to tell people why they should not take a loan. Now, after opening up my mind, I came to realize that for you to make a best investment, it is important to take loan. So, point of taking loan, it maybe is not possible when you want to take loan which you don't have any investment within, or you want to pay using maybe invested amount. But taking loan for purpose of putting up a structure that will be used to earn more money is actually a very brilliant idea. I read even more books which says the poor people save money in the bank so that it can be taken by rich people to advance themselves. So this kind of a thing that is there. So what I'm trying to keep is keep open-minded, be able to learn new things more. Even today I'm talking about the loan. Maybe I'll learn about other people's idea and perspective. I might come with a very different picture altogether from what I'm presenting this afternoon. So a critical thinker will never have one answer. You'll have one answer based on point of interaction is reached. Be ready to change your answer when you get new evidence. Think about different viewpoints concerning whatever you put. If you find a person saying that this is what I believe, this is all, you know it's not a critical thinker. A critical thinker will allow different view, different opinion, and will question everything to get evidence about a better understanding of the subject matter. So I'm talking about things to keep in mind as critical thinker. Number one, keep an open mind. Number two, make sure that you think before you act. Many people, they act because of the feeling. When they feel angry, they want to eat. And they will eat anything which comes to their face without questioning. But a critical thinker, the feeling will be questioned. And therefore, the action you're going to do will not be based on feeling, but facts. Because those people who use feeling, they may eat and overeat. Why? Because they are being controlled and they are being directed by the emotions. But a person who thinks will be always questioning whatever step he takes. On the other hand, you need to be sure that critical thinkers, they're never emotional. They have a philosophy of life which allow them to agree or take new ideas before they take further steps. And that makes essence of the success of the life. Always think about something behind any scenario or behind anything that you come across before you go further. Another thing which is important with the critical thinker is something which we call it logical fallacies. I think Isaac will talk further about this, and he'll explain this more to us so that we may all understand it. This is common to African life, whereby a person thinks that 2 + 2 = 4. He thinks that elders cannot make a mistake. He thinks that in order to get married, you must love someone you want to get married. He thinks that in order for you to succeed in life, you must get a university degree. He thinks that in order to be successful, you must have a lot of money in the bank account. So you need to be careful and avoid the contradiction before you go to the so-called answers. Always you must have answers which are logical. And what kind of logical? So don't believe on faulty thinking, because most of logic are fault. For example, A + B = C. Therefore, C - B = A. Not true. Not necessarily so. Or if A = B and B = C, then C = A. Not true. That we call it logical fallacy. That is faulty reasoning. So, if you say some few generalization when you talk about logical fallacy, you may say, for example, cutting people with a knife is a crime. But it may not be necessary to be true, because a surgeon will always cut people with a knife. In order to remove a child in your womb, you need to cut with a knife. It's not true. But now, if you come to the first logical reasoning that cutting people with a knife is a crime. So see my first number. Number 1, cutting people with a knife is a crime. Number 2, a surgeon who cut people with a knife is a criminal. Therefore, surgeons are criminals. Now, this is a fallacious thinking. And that brings us to very possible end of showing that is truth. But is it true that surgeons are criminals? No. So a logical thinker will think with logic, will never take something for granted, will not take anything on its face value, will question, and question to the end. Colleagues, in order to be a critical thinker, you must be able to say, I don't know. But the I don't know should never be your answer. You need to go deep and find the evidence that changes that. But don't be a person who just take generalization. Avoid generalization. Maintain your cool. Think before you speak. Think before you speak. And we're saying that typically critical thinking is not driven by answers. No. It's driven by questions. So the answer you get is through the questions you ask. And the more questions you ask, the more clarity of anything you get. Now, let me be honest with you. Critical thinking is not something is inborn. No. It's something you start training your mind slowly until you acquire the better view of the thing what you want to go about. Now, to go further, a critical thinker will always ask you the 6 common questions in life. A critical thinker will always ask you the 6 common questions in life. Assume an example you can see on the screen. You have just read a newspaper, Citizen, that says the Dar es Salaam population of Kariakoo is increasing. You need to ask yourself, why? Why population is increasing? Do you have a lot of hunting ground that is more money? Number 2 is what? Do you have anything increasing your position with the clear of the money that is available at Kariakoo? Number 4 is where? Is it only Dar es Salaam or the whole of Dar es Salaam? Because someone say Dar es Salaam population is going to 8 billion now, or 10 million now. The question is, are you referring to Dar es Salaam city center, or Ubungo, or Upanga? Question number 4 is who? That is, if the population of Dar es Salaam is increasing, what's the problem? Who is affected? The hunters, they mean people looking for life, for money. Question number 5 is when? That is, since when the population has started to be increasing. And lastly, is what do you do to destabilize or to stabilize the increasing population? So having said so, I would like now to welcome Mr. Flatel. It's our Flatel here. That is Isaac. Isaac, please join in. You start with understanding the idea of the critical thinking and carry us through. Maybe you've got to open some few minutes, but also allow the question. I think Deo is still in. He will connect us to allow people to come with the question before I go further. But before Isaac join in, I would ask if we have got question from all those participants. Anyone with a question? Anyone is a question? Please. Now, I don't know if you know how to use your screen there. I don't know how to use your screen there. But you may ask any question about what I put as introduction. Now, you may see the best way you can use your screen, the better way. Isaac, will you use the screen?
Yes, doctor.
You use the screen? Do you want to use the screen? Or you'll speak, you'll talk? Pardon? I think you are muted. You're muted. Remove the mute.
I will speak. I will just speak.
Thank you so much. Now, please, those who are participating, would you mind to tell us if anybody wants to ask a question? So feel free to ask any question. You may wave. In this screen, you're allowed to wave. There is a press to wave. Please wave out to us so that we may know perhaps you want to learn something about this. So anyone want to ask a question? You may raise the hand. So please go to the participant list, raise your hand. We can see, you see my hand is raised. So just raise your hand. Press raise your hand. I'm lowering my hand. So you may raise your hand. You may lower your hand. So if you want to contribute to ask a question, make sure that you raise your hand. So I'm lowering my hand so that anybody who intends, you can raise the hand. You go to the participants press, and then you may be able to raise your hand. Anybody with a question? All right. Let me allow now.
Yes, I have a question.
You have a question. Who is that? User? Yes,
I'm Johnson. Yes, Puser.
Yeah, Johnson. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. My question is all about, we are talking about fallacy. I don't understand really
how the fallacy is interacting or is interfere the issue of critical thinking. How the fallacy is interfering the issue of critical thinking.
Yes. Okay, okay. Now there is someone, okay, so maybe Isaac, take that also.
Okay.
Take that, also respond to Pusa. Any other question, please? Critical thinkers question. If you can't question or not a critical thinker, you better go home. So please, anybody with a question? Nitike, you have got a question? Nitike? Nitike, are you around? Rosie, you've got a question?
No question.
All right. So you're welcome, Isaac. And let's proceed.
Well, thank you, Reverend Dr. Sako, for offering me this golden opportunity just to present critically on the concept of critical thinking. First of all, before I go far ahead with the concept of critical thinking, I would like to start with the introduction or with the notion of what is critical thinking, because always the meaning of something, it is a direction or an instruction to the notion on that thing. Critical thinking, first of all, is directed to or is addressed to human being. Why critical thinking is addressed to or directed to human being? It's directed to human being because human being is a rational being. Human being is a rational being. That is to say, rationality is within human being. And this rationality is the one which distinguishes between human being and the other creatures. Human being and a dog, human being and a cat. That's why we say critical thinking is directed to or addressed to human being because human being is a rational being. Well, what do we mean when we say critical thinking? Critical thinking is the careful, deliberate determination of whether we should accept, reject, or suspend judgment about a claim and the degree of confidence with which to accept or reject it. That is the meaning of critical thinking. When you say critical thinking, it is the movement of thoughts from known to unknown. That is thinking. When you say that you are thinking, you move your thoughts from the known things to unknown things. That's why I've said that it is the careful, deliberate determination of whether we should accept, reject, or suspend judgment about a claim and of the degree of confidence with which to accept, reject it. Now, having already seen the meaning of critical thinking, let's now turn to the basic concept of critical thinking. There are two basic concepts of critical thinking. There is matters of fact and the matter of opinion. What is fact and what is opinion? The word fact is used to indicate or emphasize that a claim is true. For example, it is a fact that Mount Kilimanjaro is in Tanzania. It is a fact that Mount Kilimanjaro is in Tanzania. So fact is used to indicate or emphasize that a claim is true. Opinion. The word opinion, on the other hand, is used to indicate that a claim is believed or judged to be true by someone, often after a certain amount of thought. For example, It is Juma's opinion that Mount Kilimanjaro is in Tanzania. So these are the basic concepts of critical thinking, that there is a matter of fact and the matter of opinion. Now, let me turn to the standards of critical thinking. Critical thinking is having some standards. You can't be a critical thinker unless you qualify or you enter the standards of critical thinking. The first one is clarity. What is clarity? Could you elaborate further on this point? Could you express that point in another way? That is clarity. As I have said before, that you employ rationality in social, you employ rationality in religious aspect, you employ rationality in economic aspect, you employ rationality in political aspect. And I said that when you say rationality, it is the movement of thoughts from known to unknown. So this standard of critical thinking, clarity, it emphasizes that could you elaborate the matter further on that point? Could you express that point in another way? Another standard is accuracy. Is that really true? How could you check that? How could you find out if that is true? Precision. Could you give more details about the subject matter, social matter, political matter, economic matter, religious matter? Could you be more specific? A statement can be both clear and accurate, but not precise. For example, Ali Abdallah is tall. What height? Compared to whom? What? Depth. It is another standard for critical thinking. How does your answer address to complexities in the question? How are you taking into account in the problem in the question? Is that dealing with the most significant factors? A statement can be clear, accurate, precise, and relevant, but specifically, for example, grave danger you are in, impatient in you. Another standard is logic. Now, logic is the heart of critical thinking. Logic is the mother of critical thinking. Does this really make sense? Does that follow from what you said? How does that follow? But before you imply this, and now you are saying that, how can both be true? For example, Superman sees through anything. Superman sees through walls. Superman sees through you. When the combination of thoughts are mutually supporting and make sense in combination, the thinking is logical. Now, those are the standards for critical thinking. When we say that this man is a critical thinker, this lady is a critical thinker, we actually analyze those standards for critical thinking. Also, critical thinking is clear rather than unclear. Critical thinking is accurate rather than inaccurate. Critical thinking is precise rather than vague. Critical thinking is relevant rather than irrelevant. Critical thinking is consistent rather than inconsistent. Critical thinking is logical rather than illogical. Critical thinking is complete rather than incomplete. Critical thinking is fair rather than biased. So those are the standards for critical thinking. Let's now turn to the barriers to critical thinking. One among the barriers for critical thinking is fallacy. What do we mean when we say fallacy? Fallacy simply means errors in reasoning. When you reason, sometimes you may encounter some errors. So those errors, in one way or another, we call it logical fallacies. For example, you can say that all Mwalimu Nyerere students are tall. Dr. Sako is a Mwalimu Nyerere student. Therefore, Dr. Sako is tall. Is it true, participants? Is it true? So this fallacy is called the fallacy of hastily generalization. That if it is true for a part, it must be true for a whole. That is logical fallacy. Any question, the participants? Dr. Sako. Dr. Sako?
Okay,
Yes,
Mr. Isaac, I have one question.
Yes.
The question on fallacy. So are you clear?
Fallacy.
Yes.
I say that fallacy simply means the error in reasoning. When someone reasons, there are some errors he or she must encounter. So those errors in reasoning, errors in rationality, is what we call it fallacy. Welcome for the question in that point.
Yes, Pusa, you wanted to ask something more?
Of course, I understand, but my question is about the fallacy. How fallacy is interfering with the critical thinking.
Okay. As I said before, that critical thinking go hand in hand with rationality. Or in other words, rationality is the critical thinking. And why we say that rationality is the critical thinking? Rationality is the critical thinking due to the fact that rationality is within human being. That human being is a rational being. So why rationality interferes critical thinking? Rationality interferes critical thinking due to the fact that there are some errors a human being employs in a certain thinking. For example, naweza nikasema kwamba, let me use a simple example in Swahili. Unasafiri, tunasafiri kutoka Dar es Salaam, tunaelekea Tanga. Wewe umepita na usafiri wako wa private car. Una makosa mengi sana. Huna taa, huna fire extinguisher kwenye gari yako, huna chochote, tairi bovu, matrafiki wakakuachia ukaondoka. Una makosa mengi sana, inatakiwa upigwe fine, wakakuachia. Akapita mtu mwingine, hana fire extinguisher tu, akapewa adhabu. Unaanza kuhoji kwamba kwa nini yule ana makosa mengi hajaadhibiwa, mimi nina kosa dogo niadhibiwe. That is logical fallacy. If it's true for a part, does not necessarily mean that it is true for the other part. Au unaweza ukasema kwamba Dr. Sako ni mwembamba sana, atakuwa na ukimwi. Sorry Dr. Sako. Dr. Sako.
Endelea.
Ndio, kwamba Dr. Sako ni mwembamba sana, Dr. Sako atakuwa na ukimwi. Kwamba it is true that the factors that contribute to the HIV ni kuwa mwembamba, lakini does not necessarily mean that kila mwembamba ana HIV. There are other magonjwa, for example utapiamlo na magonjwa mengine. That is called red herring fallacy. So critical thinking, logical fallacy contribute much as a barrier for critical thinking due to the fact that it is an error for critical thinking. If critical thinking is so important, why is that uncritical thinking is so common? Why is that so many people, including many highly educated and intelligent people, find critical thinking so difficult? Some of the reasons may include the following: lack of relevant background information. You may find that someone does not have any background information about a certain social aspect, or about a certain political aspect, or about a certain economic aspect. You might find that he or she employ or is uncritical. Poor reading skills. There are some people, they don't have reading skills. The skills that enable someone to become an effective reader of various books, various political books and various social books. Poor listening skills is also a barrier for critical thinking. The effective reading skills, the strategies that enable someone to become an effective listener. So an effective listening is one among the barriers for critical thinking. Also bias, prejudice, superstition, closed-mindedness, distrust of reason, stereotyping, unwanted assumption and stereotypes, rationalization, short-term thinking, selective perception or attention, emotions. Now, having seen the barrier for critical thinking, let's now turn to the general critical thinking dispositions or characteristics for critical thinking. In summary, the following are the general characteristics of critical thinkers. Curious about the world. A critical thinker participant is curious about the world. That how do we know that we exist? How do we know that God exists? How do you know that Dr. Sako exists? How do you know that you exist? How do you know that God exists? Participant, are we together?
Yes.
A critical thinker is curious about the world. How do you know that you exist? For example, I can ask you, how do you know that you exist? How do you know that God exists? You believe in religious aspects. You go to church every Sunday. You go to church every Sunday. Someone can say that can stop going to the church due to the fact that anasema kwamba nimeolewa, nimeachika. And there is a notion which says that mke mwema hutoka kwa Bwana. Is that true? So kwa nini wanaoana makanisani wanaachana? That is the aspect for critical thinking. Mmeoana kanisani, and there is a notion that mke mwema hupatikana kwa Bwana. Tumeoana kanisani, kwa nini wanaoana makanisani wanaachana? Now we should employ critical thinking in this aspect. First, the first question must be, where is kwa Bwana? And Bwana ni nani? That's the theological aspect now. We should know kwa Bwana ni wapi first. And who is Bwana? Au waombaji wote hupata, waombaji wote hupewa? You can ask critically. Kuna nchi ambazo haziombi, hawasali, lakini wanapata. So we should stop kuomba. Sindio? So in summary, a critical thinker, or one among the characteristics for critical thinking, is curious about the world. Another thing is creative questioners. Frequently asking why, seeking the reason to defend a position. Interested only in the credible sources for information. Able to take into account the total situation and the context about where the critical thinking is employed. So those are the characteristics for critical thinking. Any question?
Yes, anybody with a question? I think that's very good and useful. You've given very good examples. Now, for those who are taking up notes, typically, maybe you give them definition so that they can note. There are people writing, so give us a very profound definition of what is critical thinking. We know that critical thinking helps to make a decision making, to make a decision. It helps to allow for creativity or think creatively, but also problem solving. It also helps you to do the research deeper, and it allows curiosity. And that's a source of big businesses, big success in life. So perhaps some two things as you proceed, you make the ground for the critical thinking definition swim and sink to every person. So do you mind to consolidate that or sum up and then continue?
Well, in general, across subject matters, critical thinking.
Isaac,
Do you hear me?
Anyone with a question? Anyone else with a question? Perhaps it's not clear. Who else? All right, so let's proceed.
Well, in general, across subject matters, critical thinking is the movement of thoughts from known to unknown. But being specifically, critical thinking is the careful, deliberate determination of whether we should accept, reject, or suspend judgment about a claim, and of the degree of confidence with which to accept or reject it.
So say 5 things. Number 1
is the careful, deliberate, is the careful.
So there are some words which are very critical. Carefully.
Well, careful.
Deliberate.
Deliberate.
It comes from your own initiative.
Determination.
Okay, so it's carefully deliberate determination. You want to determine something, yes?
Yes. Of whether we should accept.
Of whether we should accept. Number 1, accept. So
accept.
Number 2,
reject.
Reject. So you may accept that someone is giving an idea, you may accept it because of the evidence and what you thought of. Or reject.
Or suspend judgment. Suspend judgment about a claim.
Okay. And what is the claim?
Well, A claim is an assertion that something is true. Thus, to make is an assertion that something is true.
That those people goes to church don't sin.
Thus, to make a claim about something is to assert or state that something in the case, typically without providing evidence or proof.
Okay, proceed.
The claim one attempts to support is known as the conclusion of the argument. The statement that serves as the reason to support or believe a conclusion are called the premises. Thus, in argument, premises are designed to provide support for a conclusion.
What is a premise? Can you repeat?
Premises, thus an argument, premises are designed to provide support. For example, I can say, wanafunzi wote wa chuo kikuu cha Uingereza ni wazuri. Premise 1. Premise 2. Dr. Sako ni mwanafunzi wa chuo kikuu cha Uingereza. Premise 3. Conclusion. Dr. Sako ni mzuri. So
that's a claim or assertion.
Yeah, that's are designed to provide support for a conclusion. Conclusion is Dr. Sako ni mzuri. What are premises now? Wanafunzi wote wa chuo kikuu cha Uingereza ni wazuri. Premise 1. Premise 2, Dr. Sako ni mwanafunzi wa chuo kikuu cha Uingereza. Conclusion, Dr. Sako ni mzuri. So these premises are designed to support a conclusion.
Are we together? Members participating?
Oh, yes, we are together.
Okay. Just continue, Mr. Fratel Isaiah.
Well, now let's turn to the importance of critical thinking. What are the importance of employing rationality in our daily life activities? The importance of employing rationality in religious aspects, for example, Dr. Sako. The importance of employing rationality in our economic activities. The importance of employing rationality in our political aspect. Thus, everybody think. That's why we say that human being is a rational being. Kwamba mwanadamu ni kiumbe fikara. Kinachokutofautisha wewe na mbwa ni rationality. That's why ukifanya makosa, let's say umetoka hapa wewe umeenda kujisaidia pale, watu wanakuona. Mbwa akaenda kujisaidia pale, watu watamlaumu mbwa. Kwa nini? Kwa sababu mbwa hana rationality, lakini human being wewe una rationality. That's why I say human being is a rational being. In this definition, the meaning of subject is already contained in the predicate. Kwamba rationality is within human being. So everybody think, and everybody desires to think. It is natural to humans to think. But human thinking left to itself often gravitate towards prejudice, overgeneralization, common fallacies or errors in reasoning, self-deception, dignity, and narrowness. Therefore, human thinking needs to be disciplined. Human minds need to be trained so as to avoid the above thinking problems. Thinking plays a very powerful role in our lives. You are in many ways what you think. When you try to think about our own thinking, the world in which we are now requires that we continually relearn, that we routinely rethink our decisions, and we regularly reevaluate the way we work and live. These 3 areas will increasingly determine the quality of our work, the quality of our lives, and more of our very survival. Now, new global realities and rapidly penetrating the dispersed structures of our lives, economic, social, cultural, and political and environmental realities, and these new global realities have profound implications for thinking and learning, business, and the politics for human rights. Now, the following are some of the examples of new global realities that pose big challenges, threats to the world today, and hence requires critical thinking. The revolution that is taking place in global communications. This is a blessing in disguise. Imagine, from fax machines to email, from complex electronic marketing system to systems that track us and they penetrate our private lives. This means that we are not only providing positive opportunities for people to be more efficient with their time, but systems that render us vulnerable and wield power over. Well, we are caught up in a strengthening world, one in which we can no longer anticipate the knowledge and the data we'll need to on the job, because we can no longer predict the kinds of job we will be doing. A world in which privacy is increasing, penetrated by multiple invasive technologies, face recognition, software, DNA testing, email review, or seminars. So critical thinking, in other words, comes to us today, and it depicts the reality that we need to think. We need to employ rationality. All of these challenges and the stress point in the fact that without the intellectual ability to reason through this complex problem, without being able to analyze the layers within them, without knowing how to identify and pursue the information we need to solve them, we are adrift in a sea of confusion. Without the grasp of the political realities and economic pressures and the scientific data on the physical environment, all of which are simultaneously changing, we cannot reverse the trend of the deterioration of the quality of the for all human being. Some important figures in the development of critical thinking. History of critical thinking allows us to distinguish what is good and what is bad. Critical thinking enables us to understand what is good and what is bad. Now, what is good and what is bad, that is the ethical point for human being. That's why we, in our world now, we have leadership ethics and management. We have environmental ethics and climate change ethics. We have bioethics. We have medical ethics. We have business ethics. So, without employing rationality, rationality and ethics go hand in hand. Why rationality and ethics go hand in hand? Ethics comes from rationality. Ability to think what is good and what is bad, that is rationality, reason. And that's why ethics are directed to human beings. Ethics are not directed to a dog, a cat. Ethics are directed to human being. Ndio maana nikasema ukikojoa pale na mbwa akikojoa tutamlaumu mbwa, kwa sababu mbwa hana rationality, na rationality ndio inazaa ethics. So all ethics are originated from rationality. All ethics are originated from reason. Of course, everybody is born with rationality, with natural reasoning. Everybody is born with natural knowledge. Everybody is born with natural knowing, natural way of life, natural acts. But what comes naturally from human being is not necessarily perfect. That's why nowadays we have a logical aspect for human being. We have rationality aspect for human being, so as to make those natural things to be scientifically or systematic. That's why now everybody is born with natural way of acting. What comes naturally from man is not necessarily perfect. That's why we have ethics and the practical science, so as to bring that natural morality into the scientific level. That's why we have ethics. We have environmental ethics. We have legal ethics. We have bioethics. We have leadership ethics, because what comes naturally from man is not necessarily perfect. We need to bring this natural moralities into the scientific level. So ethics, rationality or critical thinking enable us to act in a good standard based on organizational behavior. Any question?
The question?
And sorry, Dr. Sako.
Yes.
And the objective of ethics, of which, however, it comes from rationality, the objective is not simply to know, but to know which actions are right, so as to distinguish what is right and what is wrong. That's why we say that ethics is a practical science, is a lived science. So the objective is to know which actions are right and which actions are wrong, so as to transform this knowledge into action. So you know first, then you transform the knowledge into actions. That's why there is a certain saying that which says that weak epistemology, weak ethical values. If you lack epistemology, you lack knowledge, you lack ethical values.
So what?
And Aristotle in his books.
What is epistemology, please?
Epistemology, well, epistemology is the philosophical discipline of which it investigates philosophically into the faculties of knowledge. How do you know that someone knows that he knows something? That is epistemology. It investigates philosophically into the faculties of knowledge. How do you know that you know something? That is epistemology. So weak epistemology, weak ethical values. As Aristotle said.
Can you put that first, before you go to Aristotle? Put that in a normal language everybody can understand. When you say
epistemology is the science of knowledge.
When you say weak epistemology, it's almost like a curse.
Mm-hmm.
What do you really mean?
When I say weak epistemology,
there's a statement to put about when you've got to.
I say weak. Lack of knowledge. I can say lack of knowledge can lead to unethical values in society or in communities.
Okay.
So knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm. As
Aristotle said in his book, you can write there, in his Nicomachean Ethic. Of course, it is a big book, a huge book. He said, Virtue is knowledge. Good traits of a character is knowledge. Kwamba tabia njema kuna majiundo. Unapotaka kuwa na tabia njema, kutokuwa fisadi, kutokuwa mwizi, unajifunza. So you make practice, and practice make perfect. So virtue is knowledge. Virtue is manliness, manly character. Ni tendo la kiume. So unabidi uli practice. Lazima ujinyime. Lazima uteseke. Ndio maana tunasema virtue inatokana na neno vir, man. Man. Kama ni tendo la kiume, kwanza wanaume huwa wanapambana sana. Kwa hiyo kuwa na virtue, kuwa na good traits of a character, so it needs knowledge. Lazima usome vitabu. It needs kujituma. Yes, I welcome for the questions.
Anyone with a question, please? I think this too heavy dosy. Anybody want to ask a question? Yes, the floor is open. If you can't ask, please, we may light on the side of the screen. There's a place you may light your comments. You may type your message, we see it, and respond accordingly. So if you find that maybe your English is not very well, you may speak Swahili. So feel free. So if you have got anything you want to talk, please feel free to write somewhere on the light side of the screen. If any question you've got about epistemology, I believe
ethics,
anything, so that you may see the link between why critical thinking goes on in end with knowledge together with ethics. So please, you're welcome. Anybody with a question? You may wave your hand on the screen. Should we proceed? Okay, I think Pusa has the hand raised. Pusa, welcome. Mr.
Okay,
Pusa.
sorry if I don't understand it, but
No. The purpose of all this to study to understand. So
yes,
that
yes. Okay, I say that there are.
Yes, well, go on.
Okay, Mr. Isaac, he's mentioned the issue of ethics and the issue of epistemology. So I don't know, this ethics and epistemology is under what title that ethics and the epistemologies belong? Maybe the characteristics or the what title which ethics and epistemologies belong.
Okay. Any other question? Let's take two questions together. Any other question? Members? Question? All right. Continue, Isaac.
Thanks for the critical question. The topic of today is critical thinking. Ethics. Well, I mentioned first of all, I mentioned ethics, or I explained about ethics. Then I explained about rationality or reason or logic. Finally, I explained about epistemology. And I said that rationality or reason is the mother of all branches. Is the mother of all branches. Rationality or reason is subjected to human being. Why rationality is subjected or directed to human being? So, because human being is a rational being in nature. Rationality, I mean, the meaning of some subject already contained in the predicate. The definition itself is complete. That human being is a rational being. It's like when you define a bachelor. Who is a bachelor? Is an unmarried man. So the meaning of subject already contained in the predicate. So rationality here is directed to human being or is addressed to human being. Why? Due to the fact that human being is a rational being. That rationality is within human being. And rationality, from rationality now, or from reasoning, we get ethics. Because the ability to reason what is good and what is bad is what we call it ethics. And ethics are also directed to human being. That's why nikasema kwamba mimi nikitoka hapa nikakojoa barabarani watu wananiona, na mbwa akaenda kukojoa pale, nani atalaumiwa? Nitalaumiwa mimi mwanadamu. Kwa nini? Mwanadamu nina ability to reason ambayo inazaa ethics. I have the ability to reason. I have rationality within me. You understand? So ethics originates from rationality. Ethics originates from reason. The ability to reason what is right and what is good is what we call it ethics. And ethics, therefore, is a philosophical discipline which investigates philosophically into what is right and what is wrong. So what is right and what is wrong now here depends. There are various theories of what is right and what is wrong. Consequentialism, that the value of an action depends solely on the value of its consequences. Utilitarianism, that the value of an action depends on the greatest happiness to the greatest number of people, on the pleasure. So the criticism comes here. How do you know that? How do you measure pleasure? How do you measure the value of an action before you act? So this is another topic. So shortly, ethics originates from rationality. Ethics originates from reason. The ability to reason what is right and what is wrong is what we call it ethics. And ethics comes from rationality. Thus, we make critical investigation into what is right and what is wrong. Thus, we call it ethics. And it has been originated from rationality. It has been originated from reason. Epistemology. Epistemology is the science for knowledge. It investigates philosophically into knowledge. And knowing that what is right and what is wrong, lazima ujifunze, lazima ujue in various ways, darasani, intuitively, makanisani, na maeneo mengine. And that's why I said weak epistemology, weak ethical values. Unapokuwa na ujuzi hafifu, unakuwa na ethical value hafifu pia. For example, let me use another mfano moja. Reverend Dr. Sako.
Yes.
Dr. Sako. What let's take one institution for the reference in this points between rationality, ethics, and epistemology. I can take one institution. Maybe I can take a medical stores department, right?
Okay.
Medical stores department has the motto of which it says, "We dedicated to save your life." We dedicated to save people's life. You can write as an example there. We dedicated to save your life. But rationality can enter there. While others are dedicated to save people's life, distributing medicines in all regions in Tanzania mainland, there are other people who are destroying life. tunasambaza madawa, lakini kuna watu wanatumia dawa hizo hizo kufanya abortion. Right? Kufanya dawa hizo hizo kufanya assisted suicide, kufanya euthanasia. So rationality must enter there. MSD has dedicated to save people's life, but there are other people who are dedicated to destroy people's life. Abortion. They are using medicines. That is medical ethics now. It is originated from reason, from rationality. You distribute medicines. You dedicated to save people's life. People are using those medicines to destroy life. Abortion. You can ask yourself that why abortion is immoral now. That's the rationality. Why abortion is immoral. Abortion is ethically wrong due to the fact that it deprives individual future. It deprives individuals feeling. Leo hii mtoto huyo unayemtoa unayemuua, huwezi jua atakuja kuwa labda Dr. Sako. Atakuja kuwa Deo, Master Deo. Kuja kuwa Clemens. You see? So without rationality, there is no epistemology. Without rationality, there is no ethics. Without rationality, there is no metaphysical knowledge of the world, metaphysical world of social, metaphysical world of political, metaphysical world of economic aspect of life. Virtue is knowledge. Am I clear?
Yes. Puza, Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Are
Yes,
you
sir.
okay now?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. I'm okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So let's continue to that session. Then we just go to the winding up part. So that today, this is an introduction to critical thinking. Perhaps our presenter, Flatel Isaac.
Yes, Doctor.
You've discussed a lot of ideas and the philosophy and things which may be difficult sometimes to comprehend. Can you sum up maybe so that any layman who has been attending this session today will be able to explain what is critical thinking? Leave alone epistemology. Just give us
in summing up,
in a very
critical.
Yes, so maybe you just sum up the whole idea. What really do we want? But in the end of the day, a person who has attended this class, what are you going to be applying that for? Yes, you're welcome. Yes, Flatel Isaac? Flatel Isaac? I think I've lost him. Isaac? Hello? Hello, Isaiah? Isaac? All right, members, I think all of us are there. So perhaps as we were just waiting for Isaac to connect in again, I would like us to have some clarity of some few points he's shared with us. But before that, let me just recall you where we ended when I was introducing. And I said that critical thinking typically is a constant method of answering question, why, what, where, who, when, and the so-called how. That is all about the so-called critical thinking. So it involves some few ideas together. First of all, you need to be cognizant to what is existing around you. Recognize. If someone speaks a word, don't take it for granted. Question it in your mind. Consider evidence. Go to the internet. Read it. Understand it. So any theme or any hypothesis, a generalized truth, someone is giving to you, whether it's religious, whether it's normal life, whatsoever, always you have to put some negative aspect of that, considering that maybe it might be a fallacy. Number two, you're supposed to understand it very clearly, because critical thinking about solving problems. And why solving problems? Because things are not the way they seem to be. We need proper understanding, that is putting the concept. So today we're talking about critical thinking. How do you conceptualize the critical thinking? Then you relate information to what you already know, and then restate the information the best way you can have. Then you put hypothesis, that is making interpretation of the information based on your understanding of it. Hypothesis is making interpretation of the information by the way you understand it. Then you go to the issue of logically analyzing the information. That brings us to fourth point, that is analyze the information. Consider information not by itself, but in its big chunk, but break it down, answering the question, why? Why? He said, for example, someone can say, that is, Tanzania president must be told. Alias, we say, Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete was told. Therefore, Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete is Tanzanian president. Tanzania president must be told. Musa Msafiri is told. Therefore, Musa Msafiri is the president. You ask yourself a question. Why is he saying so? What is it? Where? It is said that for a critical thinker, you must have 5 whys before you go to the conclusion. 5 what is before you go to the conclusion. 5 wheres before you go to conclusion. Who and when. Then you compare and contrast information. The later stage is for you to recombine the information, everything in the evidence, correcting the material facts. Critical thinking typically wants you to look like a puzzle. You're solving a particular puzzle in life. Whatever comes as a problem, you just have to be critical. So what do I say? One of the tools a management consultant should use for his purpose is critical thinking. Trying to address the critical questions. Now, at least Fratel Isaiah, as he introduced to us concerning the issue of ethics, all that together is about philosophy and not about the subject matter. And last, we conclude on the hypothesis. Now, before I invite Isaiah to finish up the presentation, I'd like all of us to understand one of the techniques used for critical thinking. And that technique is called cubbing. It's called cubbing or cubing. Cubing, I think, is the better word for that. That is, you know, the cube. The cube has got how many sides? 6 sides. So look on the problem within 6 sides and trying to address it on context of the 6th side. That is the 6-side view of a problem. Let's try to see what really it entails. So this is a cube you may see on the side of you with the 6th side. Now, whatever problem can be there is to ask yourself some question looking on 6 perspective of trying to sort it out. So if it's a subject that is you're facing the problem of decline of maybe the examination, if you're a student, you're not passing well, or you've got a challenge of getting someone to get married or to marry, or it may be you want to start a business. That's a problem. So number 1 is to describe the problem, like the detail about the subject. What is the really I want to solve? I don't have a job. How does it feel? It's very bad, very embarrassing. Step 2 of the cube, that's another side of the cube. What are the similar things to your subject? What are the other issues related to that? Majority of people don't have same problem, same job, same business. How does it relate? Is it okay? Does it have any effect? Then stage 3 is to make association of the thing. That is the cube part, the 3rd part of the cube. That is, use what you know about the subject matter, use what you know about the issue, trying to be very personal, making it to yourself without asking anybody. You can see on the right, there are 6 cubes, and each one showing different colors of the side you're going to discuss about. So step 4, you go to the analysis. That is trying to see why you don't have a job. What really source of that not having a job? Why? Because there are many people graduating from college, because there are few employment opportunities, because there are few entrepreneurs, because we don't have entrepreneurial mindset, because we're not trained to be entrepreneurs, because the people, the people in they're not, the market is not able to absorb people. Then from questioning, you may see that since there are fewer entrepreneurial approaches, I need to be an entrepreneur. So instead of addressing job or looking for a job using your own mind, but you need to go to the entrepreneur. Now, after deciding to be an entrepreneur, you need to have some questions also. What is entrepreneur? How do I go to entrepreneur? What are the character of successful entrepreneurs? Now, those questioning, keep on questioning. They give you another perspective of life. Then from there, you come to conclusion and apply the reasoning to the subject. And from that thing, you can now decide to argue the subject with conclusiveness. That's typical, the method that we call it about the curbing or cubing method. That is considering the problem into 6 contextual view. That will make a difference to try to understand it. Because understanding an issue, understanding a problem is almost 50% of getting a solution to it. Now, for the purpose of an introduction to critical thinking, which is our lecture today, please remember, there are some types of words which can show you that this person is a critical thinker. And it's a common nowadays in examination when you go to interview or you go to discuss something, people to ask you the same kind of questions. So wherever you ask these questions, you need to know they want you to think critically, that you think beyond the normal thinking. Think through the analytical approach. Think considering wider view. Think on a 6-dimensional or in a cube. We call 6-dimensional thinking. Because this type of word, they want you to be comprehensive. They want to test your understanding, but also they don't test the memory. Like discuss, explain, compare and contrast, critique, evaluate, describe, define, enumerate, illustrate, interpret, identify, outline, prove, justify, relate, summarize, trace. Why do we put that forth? Because those are the best cause for better understanding of critical thinking. And if you know those kind of concepts, they build up your ability to think critically. Let me tell you and be very honest, critical thinking is a skill. It is not something it comes like a gift. No, no, no. It's something you develop from today on. Start to think critically on your norms. Why do I sleep this time? Why should I watch my phone? Why should I look on this book? Why should I eat now? Why? It increases the essence of life. It improves your ability to think cognitively. It helps you to make better decisions. Instead of rushing to answer any question, think critically and then respond logically. Before you know it, you are building up a skill that will be a masterpiece for your success. But in any consulting business, the most important aspect of consulting is critical thinking. Without critical thinking, your consulting will be memorized or will be just like a memory hunch. And in the end of the day, you won't get good results from there. So one of the baseline technique for consulting skills is what we call the so-called critical thinking. Now, Isaac, are you back? I think we've lost Isaac. I think he's not here. Perhaps we shall have his words in next session. May I ask if there is there is any person with a question, anybody would like to share something, perhaps? You want to get more credit of something? I would like you to, but now please, before us also, we've got another, an old man, but he's very intelligent, Dr. Clemens. I think you're there. Dr. Clemens? Dr. Tesha? Dr. Clemens? Dr. Clemens, are you with us?
I think his audio is not connected yet.
Ah, okay. Would you want to check with him, perhaps? I want him to give us a word because he's highly experienced. And perhaps will give us something concerning what we're doing. Could he be hearing us or he cannot even hear us?
I think he can hear us. Let me just contact him right away.
All right. Let me check if I can give. I think I've sent you his number on the WhatsApp so that at least you may just decide to call him to see. Members who are participating, we need to understand that the more we share with other people, the more we understand, the more we form up a common understanding with regard to this subject. So that's why I'm interested to get some insight from other people who are listening to us and who might in one way or another contribute to the body of knowledge, because we are building people who will be mattered, who will matter in the marketplace, people who will be the top consultants to the life solution for the problem. And that's why I say that if you can't ask a question, then you're not a critical thinker. This class, maybe you need to go to the advanced level. That will make a difference. But that's a way to ignite your thinking, to ignite your understanding, so that we may participate together in this matter. So as we are trying to connect Dr. Tesha around with us, I would like to hear if there are some people with some question. Any person with a question, please feel free to ask. Senior Advocate Rushagala, anything to ask about critical thinking?
Thank you, Reverend.
I think your mic is off.
I was trying to catch up on the subject.
Yes, Rushagala. Your mic. I think there is some network issue. We don't hear you.
I don't have a question.
Okay.
Can
okay.
you?
Now we can hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Yes, I'm saying unfortunately I joined late.
Okay.
Because I was on the safari, so I'm trying to catch up on the whole subject. But for the time being, I don't have a question.
Thank you so much. Anybody with a question? Anybody with a question? Perhaps if you've got a question, please, you can always write to us. You can write on the side of the screen if there is anything with regard to the subject of the so-called critical thinking. Now, to go about trying to conclude this subject for today, first and foremost, I would like to thank you, everyone. It was a tasty panel today. It was the first session. We'll continue again next week, whereby we will come with the recap of this week. So I'd like one of the members who participated to give us a recap. Who is that? Nitike? 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 Yeah, you've been with us since the beginning. So next week at 3 p.m., you'll be the one to share a recap.
Okay.
Yeah, may wish to call Dr. Pratel Isaiah. I'll give you his number if you have some question to be clear. So
Okay.
this is to train you to come next time to be a trainer.
Okay, thank you.
All right, appreciate. So everybody, may I say thank you very much for being with us tonight. It has been a pleasure for you to participate. We had some other people, almost 7 of them. In one way or another, they failed to participate today. But it's my hope that next weekend we shall be many of us. But also please share this to other people, because in the end of the day, we'll be calling some experts and people in the subject matter. I'll be the main facilitator, but I'll always invite people to share together so that together we may have common understanding with this, because in the end of the day, we want you to apply this knowledge in your life, in your routine, and make a difference for your growth and make a difference to your life. Because in the end of the day, we are living for a reason. And the more capable you are in terms of knowledge, in terms of understanding of subject matter, it may make you life to be more easier for you to move ahead. So next week, we are still grounding our subject with regard to management consulting. And our first part was about critical thinking. We shall have a recap and some questions for you to take home. And then we'll start a new topic called the leadership basics. Leadership basics. And we'll talk also about African leadership perspective for 1 hour. And by that time, I think Dr. Tesha will be around to give us some percept about leadership. I'll take the main leading on the topic, and then others will contribute and chip in. Then I believe after next week's subject, together with the critical thinking, we are developing the people who are very able and capable to contribute to the national development. Otherwise, once again, thank you, Deo, for putting this platform for us together to share this knowledge. And thank you, everyone who in one way or another participated in this meeting. Hope to see you next week. We shall start exactly at 3 p.m. And therefore, we'll have more time to discuss issues that are coming forth. I wish you a very good evening and a very good week to start. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Father. Thank you, Doctor.